See this body. Body wey fit scatter campus. Oh my God. You're so right. Forget campus. Any man will see this body go lose guard. Banging body. Hourglass figure.
Girls, we look incredible. Banging body, an hourglass figure. You know it. Look at us, gorgeous.
Body is what?
Body is tea. Clock it!
The room erupted with cheers. Body anybody go die for. Hot girl no dey hide. Phones came out immediately as they recorded videos for TikTok and Instagram, striking different poses and hyping one another. Sandra admired herself again before smiling proudly. This body no fit waste. Ethan must notice me this semester. Jennifer laughed. You? Abeg shift. Half of the girls in Royal Crest University are dressing up because of Ethan. Another roommate adjusted her wig. Who no wants Ethan? Fine boy, billionaire pikin, luxury cars, future CEO. If Ethan asks me out today, I'm saying yes before he finishes talking. The girls laughed loudly. He doesn't even look at ordinary girls. He deserves a premium babe, a real campus BBL queen. Sandra snapped her fingers confidently, and that's exactly why my body has to stay on point. Just then, her eyes fell on the only girl who wasn't interested in the conversations. Amara quietly sat on her bed, arranging books into her backpack while checking a list of customer orders on her laptop. Sandra smirked. See our roommate, flat like a broomstick. The room exploded with laughter. Jennifer shook her head. Amara, are you sure you're not tired of looking like this? Every serious girl on this campus is upgrading herself. Another girl added with a grin. With that body, how do you expect someone like Ethan to even notice you? Amara looked up calmly. There was no anger on her face, only a quiet smile. She zipped up her backpack and said, I'd rather upgrade my future than my body. For a brief second, the room became quiet. Then everyone burst into laughter again. Sandra held her stomach. Future care. Beauty opens doors. Amara slung her backpack over her shoulder. So does knowledge. Without another word, she walked out.
The laughter followed her all the way into the corridor. To most people, Royal Crest University wasn't just a university, it was a lifestyle. Students came from wealthy families across Nigeria. Luxury cars lined the parking lots every morning. Fashion trends started on campus before they reached social media. Influencers, musicians, footballers, and celebrities visited regularly. It wasn't unusual to see a student stepping out of a Mercedes-Benz in the morning and flying to Abuja or Lagos for the weekend. And nowhere was the competition fiercer than among the girls. The unofficial queens of Royal Crest were known across campus as the campus BBL queens. Some had undergone cosmetic surgery. Some simply dressed and carried themselves like influencers. But together, they represented what many students believed was the fastest route to popularity, luxury, and wealthy relationships. Freshers admired them. Many girls wanted to become them. Amara wanted none of it. She was naturally beautiful in a quiet way. Smooth dark skin, expressive eyes, and a warm smile that appeared whenever she greeted people. She dressed neatly but simply, never feeling the need to compete with anyone. Every extra naira she earned went somewhere meaningful, some into books, some into online business courses, the rest into the small skincare business she had started from her hostel room. Her dream wasn't to become campus famous. Her dream was to graduate with something no one could take away from her. As she walked toward the Faculty of Business that morning, her phone buzzed. A customer had just paid for 3 skincare products. Amara smiled to herself. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but every sale reminded her that she was getting closer to her dream. At the main entrance of the university, excitement suddenly spread through the crowd. He's here! Ethan is on campus. Several girls quickly adjusted their dresses, others touched up their makeup using the front cameras of their phones. Some even changed direction completely, pretending they had somewhere else to be.
A sleek black Rolls-Royce Cullinan rolled slowly through the university gates before stopping in front of the faculty building. The driver stepped out first and opened the rear door. Then Ethan emerged. Tall, handsome, elegant. His white shirt fit perfectly beneath a tailored Miri blazer, while a luxury wristwatch rested effortlessly on his wrist. He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. Everyone already knew who he was, the son of one of Nigeria's youngest billionaire businessmen. His family's companies stretched across real estate, technology, hospitality, and finance. Yet the wealth wasn't what made Ethan different. He never looked down on people. He greeted the security guards by name. He thanked the cleaners every morning. Lecturers respected him because he worked hard despite having every advantage in life. Students admired him because he carried success with humility. Almost every female student wanted his attention, especially the campus BBL queens. As Ethan walked toward his lecture hall, 3 girls deliberately crossed his path. "Hi, Ethan. Good morning. You look good today." He smiled politely. "Good morning." Without stopping, he continued walking. The girls watched him leave. He didn't even notice us. Maybe next time. Not far away, another student accidentally dropped a pile of books while rushing across the walkway. Several people looked. Nobody stopped. Amara did. She immediately knelt down and began gathering the scattered books. "Thank you so much," the embarrassed student said. "It happens," Amara replied with a smile. "Don't worry about it." She handed over the last book and continued on her way without expecting anything in return. A few meters away, Ethan had paused after hearing the books hit the ground. He watched the entire exchange. She never looked around to see who was watching. She never tried to impress anyone. She simply helped and kept walking. For the first time that morning, something genuinely caught Ethan's attention. Not a perfect body, not expensive clothes, not a rehearsed smile. Just a young woman who seemed completely uninterested in competing with the rest of the world. He found himself watching her disappear into the crowd before quietly continuing to his lecture. Neither of them knew it yet, but that ordinary moment had just set 2 very different lives on the same path. The rest of the day passed like every other day at Royal Crest University. Lectures, assignments, endless gossip. But Ethan couldn't get the image of the quiet girl out of his mind. She hadn't looked around to see who was watching. She hadn't tried to impress anyone. She had simply helped another student and walked away. That was different. A week later, students from the Faculty of Business were asked to form groups for an entrepreneurship challenge. The winning team would receive funding from a company owned by one of the university's major sponsors. As students rushed to form groups with their friends, Amara quietly searched for a seat at the back of the hall. Just as she sat down, someone pulled out the chair beside her. "Mind if I join you?" She looked up. It was Ethan. For a brief moment, the entire hall seemed to go silent. Sandra, who was seated across the room, almost dropped her phone. Jennifer blinked twice. Is Ethan talking to Amara? No way. Amara smiled politely. Of course. Ethan sat down. "I've heard you're good with business ideas." She looked surprised. "You've heard about me?" "I asked one of your lecturers who runs the best student business on campus." Amara laughed softly. "I hope they didn't exaggerate." They didn't. Before she could respond, the lecturer announced that the 2 of them would be working in the same team, along with 3 other students. Sandra couldn't believe what she was seeing. Out of every girl on campus, Ethan was sitting beside Amara. After the class ended, Sandra hurried over. "Ethan!" He turned. "Hi. I'd been trying to talk to you for weeks. We should exchange numbers." Ethan smiled politely. "I'm sorry, I don't usually give out my number." "Oh." Before the awkward silence could grow, he excused himself and walked away. Sandra stood there, embarrassed. Jennifer quickly rushed over. "What happened?" Sandra forced a smile. "Nothing," but it was obvious something had happened. Later that afternoon, Amara stayed behind in one of the study rooms to work on the entrepreneurship project. She was so focused on writing that she didn't notice someone standing at the door. "You work harder than anyone I've met." She looked up. "Ethan." She smiled. "I could say the same about you." He walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I wasn't sure if you drink coffee." "I do." He placed 1 cup on the table. "Peace offering." She laughed. "For what?" "For interrupting your work." They both laughed. For the next 2 hours, they discussed business ideas instead of campus gossip. They debated marketing strategies, customer service, branding, future goals. By the end of the discussion, Ethan was impressed. "You think differently." Amara shrugged. "I just like solving problems." He nodded. "I like that." Outside the study room, 2 girls happened to walk past. One of them froze. "Isn't that Ethan? And Amara?" Within an hour, screenshots and voice notes were flying across different student WhatsApp groups. "I saw Ethan buying coffee for one girl. Guess who? That flat girl from Queen's hostel." The gossip spread like wildfire. Back at the hostel, Sandra threw her phone onto the bed. "I don't understand." Jennifer sighed. "Maybe it's just because of the project." Sandra folded her arms. "No, something isn't right." That evening, Sandra received a video call from Kelvin, the wealthy businessman who had been showering her with gifts. "My beautiful queen," he said with a smile. Sandra instantly brightened. "When are you coming to see me again?" "This weekend." "I can't wait. I have another surprise for you." Sandra smiled from ear to ear. "I knew I chose the right man." Across the room, Amara ignored the conversation and continued packing customer orders. Jennifer looked from Sandra to Amara before shaking her head. "I honestly don't know how you do it." "Do what?" "You don't compete with anybody." Amara smiled. "My competition is the woman I was yesterday." Jennifer frowned. "I wish life were that simple." "So do I." The following Saturday, the entrepreneurship teams presented their ideas before a panel of judges. When it was Ethan's team's turn, Amara confidently presented the business strategy while Ethan explained the financial projections. The room applauded. Even the judges looked impressed. After the presentations, one of the judges smiled. "You two make an excellent team." Ethan looked at Amara. "We really do." For a brief second, their eyes met. Neither of them looked away immediately. Standing at the back of the hall, Sandra watched everything. She felt something she had never expected to feel. Jealousy. Not because Amara had become famous, but because the one man she desperately wanted to notice her seemed far more interested in the girl everyone had mocked. As students filed out of the hall, Ethan caught up with Amara. "You have an amazing mind." She smiled. "Thank you. And I'd like to get to know you better, if you're okay with that." Amara hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I'd like that too." Neither of them noticed Sandra watching from a distance, her smile fading as she quietly tightened her grip on her phone. If you're enjoying the story, consider subscribing for more. Sandra watched as Ethan and Amara walked away together, still talking about their project. She couldn't hide the disappointment on her face. Jennifer gently touched her arm. "Forget him. There are plenty of rich guys on this campus." Sandra shook her head. "You don't understand." "What?" "I've done everything." Jennifer frowned. "What do you mean?" "I changed my wardrobe. I followed every fashion trend. I even got a BBL because I thought it would make me stand out. Yet the only girl Ethan seems interested in is the one who isn't even trying." Jennifer had no answer. Deep down, she was beginning to ask herself the same question. The following week, the entrepreneurship competition announced its winners. Students gathered inside the university auditorium as the vice chancellor stepped onto the stage. In third place, the applause echoed through the hall. In second place, more cheers followed. And this year's winning team is... He paused. "Ethan Adeyemi and Amara Okafor." The auditorium erupted. Amara covered her mouth in disbelief. Ethan smiled and gently nudged her. We did it. As they walked onto the stage to receive their award, cameras flashed from every direction. The university's official media team took pictures while students recorded videos. By evening, those pictures had spread across every campus blog. Some celebrated them, others weren't happy. One anonymous post read, "So, Ethan ignored all the campus BBL queens just to choose a girl with no shape? Men are really unpredictable." Another replied, "Maybe she used jazz." A third comment simply said, "Character will always beat packaging." Amara read a few comments before locking her phone. She had learned long ago that strangers online would always have something to say. Later that afternoon, Ethan found her sitting beneath a tree near the entrepreneurship center. He handed her a bottle of water. "You've been avoiding social media, haven't you?" She smiled. "I prefer real life." He laughed. "I thought I was the only one." For a few minutes, they sat quietly.
Then Ethan spoke. "Can I ask you something?" "You just did." He laughed again. "Fair enough." He looked at her. "Why don't you care what people think?" Amara looked ahead before answering. "When I was growing up, my mom always told me something." "What was that?" "If you spend your life chasing people's approval, you'll never have time to build your own future." Ethan nodded slowly. "I like your mom already. And you would have. She was an amazing woman." There was a brief silence. "My parents died when I was in secondary school," Amara said quietly. "Since then, I've had to remind myself that my future depends on the choices I make, not the opinions of other people." Ethan looked at her with even greater respect. "You've been carrying a lot. I've also learnt a lot." At that moment, Ethan realized exactly why he felt different whenever he was around her. She wasn't pretending to be strong, she simply was. Meanwhile, Sandra's glamorous life was beginning to crack. Kelvin had become increasingly controlling. He wanted to know where she was every hour. He questioned every male classmate who appeared in her pictures. He even complained whenever she spent too much time with her friends. One Friday evening, he sent her a message. "I'm outside your hostel. Come now." Sandra hurried outside. Kelvin was waiting beside his SUV. "I thought we were going to dinner," she said. "We are." He opened the passenger door. As soon as she sat down, he handed her a small gift box. Sandra smiled. "You bought me another gift? Open it." Inside was an expensive diamond necklace. Her eyes widened. "It's beautiful." "It is," he smiled. "Now, delete every male contact from your phone." Sandra's smile disappeared. "Kelvin, I'm serious." "You don't trust me?" "I trust you. Then why?" "Because I don't like competition." Sandra gently closed the gift box. "I can't do that." Kelvin's expression hardened. "You'll do it if you want this relationship to continue." Sandra suddenly realized that none of the expensive gifts had ever been free. Every one of them came with a condition. Back on campus, Jennifer was fighting a different battle. She had become obsessed with chasing online attention. Every morning began with photos. Every evening ended with checking likes and comments. One night, after posting a carefully edited video, she waited. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. The engagement was far lower than she expected. She refreshed the page again. Nothing changed. Frustrated, she threw her phone onto the bed and burst into tears. "I'm becoming irrelevant." Amara, who had been packaging skincare orders, walked over quietly. "You okay?" Jennifer wiped her face. "No." She hesitated before speaking again. "Do you ever feel like you are not enough?" Amara sat beside her. "Sometimes." "You do?" "Of course." "So what do you do?" "I remind myself that mirrors can lie, and social media lies even more." Jennifer managed a weak smile. "You always know what to say."
I don't. I've just learned not to let strangers decide how I feel about myself. Jennifer looked down. Maybe that was exactly what she needed to hear. The following Monday morning, Royal Crest University awoke to shocking news. Sandra had been rushed to the university clinic overnight after collapsing in her hostel. The discomfort she had been hiding for weeks had become impossible to ignore. Within minutes, students gathered outside the clinic, whispering among themselves. What happened? I heard it has something to do with her surgery. No, it can't be. Amara arrived just as Sandra was being transferred to a specialist hospital in Lagos. Without thinking twice, she climbed into the ambulance beside her. As the doors closed, Ethan drove in behind them, determined to make sure they got there safely. For the first time since the campus BBL Queens became the pride of Royal Crest University, fear had replaced admiration.
The ambulance sped out of Royal Crest University with Ethan's black Rolls-Royce following closely behind. Inside, Sandra lay quietly as the paramedics monitored her condition. Amara held her hand. "You're going to be okay," she whispered. Sandra slowly opened her eyes. "I thought all of this would make me happy." Amara squeezed her hand gently. "Just focus on getting better." After several days in the hospital, Sandra was finally discharged. The doctors assured her she would recover, but they also warned her to take her health seriously and stop ignoring warning signs. Those words stayed with her. Back on campus, Sandra was no longer interested in showing off. She stopped posting glamorous videos, she avoided unnecessary attention. Most importantly, she ended her relationship with Kelvin. When she called to tell him it was over, he laughed. "So you're leaving all this luxury behind?" Sandra smiled calmly. "I'd rather have peace than presents." She hung up before he could say another word. For the first time in a long while, she felt free. Jennifer also made a decision. She deleted the apps that had consumed her life and took a break from social media. Instead of chasing likes, she focused on her studies and started helping Amara with marketing ideas for her skincare business. The business grew faster than either of them expected. One evening, Ethan invited Amara to dinner. Not at the most expensive restaurant in Lagos, not on a private yacht, just a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. As they finished eating, Ethan looked at her and smiled. "Can I tell you something?" "You can." "The first day I noticed you, you were picking up books another student had dropped." Amara laughed. "I remember that." "Everyone else was busy trying to be seen, but you were busy helping someone." He paused. "That was the moment I knew you were different." Amara looked at him quietly. "I'll be honest," Ethan continued. "Almost every girl on campus tried to get my attention. Some did it with expensive clothes, some with social media, some with their looks." He smiled. "You were the only one who acted as if I was just another student." Amara laughed, "Because that's exactly what you were." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "And that's why I fell for you." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Amara reached across the table and held his hand. "I'm glad you looked beyond appearances." "I was looking for a partner," Ethan replied softly, "not a performance." From that evening, they officially began dating. Their relationship quickly became one of the most admired on campus, not because of Ethan's wealth, but because of the respect, friendship, and understanding they shared. Months later, graduation arrived. Students dressed in colorful gowns filled the campus with laughter, music, and photographs. Sandra walked over to Amara. There were tears in her eyes. "I owe you an apology." "You don't." "I do." Sandra took a deep breath. "I laughed at you." "I know. I made you feel like you weren't good enough." Amara smiled gently. "You didn't." Sandra looked confused. "I already knew who I was." Those words stayed with Sandra for a long time. The three friends embraced before walking into the graduation ceremony together. 5 years later, Royal Crest University hosted its annual alumni reunion. Many graduates returned with successful careers and businesses.
a luxury SUV stuck at the entrance. Students turned, expecting another celebrity. Instead, Amara stepped out, followed by Ethan. The couple had become one of Nigeria's young success stories. Amara's skincare company had expanded across several states, creating jobs for dozens of young people. Ethan had taken over part of his family's business empire, but he was equally passionate about mentoring young entrepreneurs. Together, they had established a foundation that provided scholarships and business grants to students from low-income backgrounds. Sandra had become a wellness advocate, using her own experience to educate young women about self-worth, informed choices, and resisting unhealthy peer pressure. Jennifer had built a thriving digital marketing agency and often spoke about the importance of using social media wisely instead of allowing it to define one's value. As the reunion came to an end, a group of first-year students walked past. One of them whispered to her friend, "I wish I looked like those girls online." Amara smiled and stopped beside her. Don't spend your life trying to become someone else. The young student looked up. The people who truly matter will value your character long after beauty trends have changed. Invest in your mind, protect your health, and never let peer pressure make decisions for you. The student smiled. I'll remember that. As Amara walked away, Sandra looked at her and laughed softly. You know, all those years ago, we thought being a campus BBL queen was the biggest achievement. Amara smiled. No title is greater than knowing your worth. Sometimes, the loudest trends fade with time, but good character never goes out of style. There is nothing wrong with wanting to look your best, but never let pressure, comparison, or the desire for validation make choices on your behalf. Build your confidence from within, invest in your future, and remember that lasting success is built on purpose, discipline, and self-respect. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were Amara? Would you have stood your ground or given in to the pressure around you? Do you think Ethan made the right choice by looking beyond physical appearance? And what lesson from this story will stay with you the longest? I'd love to hear your thoughts.